Welcome to reading Chapter 4, Implied Main Ideas. So again, reminder, you're going to go to your dashboard and under modules here, you're going to click here and scroll to Chapter 4 reading. So you click download and then you'll see your notes pop up. So Chapter 4, Implied Main Ideas. And think of the word implied, it means suggested. So unlike in Chapter 2, where we talked about the main ideas where they were explicitly said in there, it was a sentence taken directly out. Implied, we're going to have to use our own inference skills to figure out the main idea, and this is why it is called implied main idea. So we're going to have to really use the supporting details and the skills that we used in Chapter 3 to figure out the implied main idea. So looking here at the illustration, says here, Kenny hasn't spoken to me for 2 months. He won't return my calls, and he's been seeing one of my friends. Do you think I should break up with him? So in this illustration, you can figure out that basically this guy has broken up with her, but she hasn't figured it out. And we know this because, again, look at the supporting details, that he hasn't spoken to her for 2 months, has returned calls, and is seeing one of her friends. So obviously she has not figured it out yet. So this is, again, where we use the supporting details to figure out the main idea. So again, some key elements to look at, and a quick reminder is referring to Chapter 2. What you're going to look at is look for the topic. So topic is the subject matter. It's usually 1, 2, or 3 words. Repeated is usually the subject matter of that piece of work that is written. And then you have to try to figure out what is the author or writer trying to say about that topic. What is the main point? So again, we're going to look here. And so it says here, slashing their swords wildly, swordfish swim through schools of fish, trying to slice as many as possible. Then they feast. When hooked by fishermen, they have been known to fight nonstop for 3 or 4 hours. They have pulled some fishermen to their deaths, and if they are not clubbed senseless when captured, they will slash fishermen on deck. A puncture wound by a swordfish bill means a severe and nearly instantaneous infection. Their sword, which is a bony extension of the upper jaw, is deadly sharp on the sides and can grow to a length of 4 or 5 feet. It is a weapon backed up by 500 pounds of sleek, muscular fish. Swordfish have been known to attack boats, driving their swords right through the hull and at times sinking them. So we have to try to figure out what is the implied main idea. First, we need to know what the topic is. And so we know the topic is, obviously, what the word kept coming up is swordfish. It just kept coming up. So we know we're talking about swordfish. So what are they trying to say about their swordfish? Well, looking at the details here, they're talking about how they pulled some fishermen to their deaths. If they're not clubbed senselessly, they slash fishermen on deck. The puncture wound bill means a severe, nearly instantaneous infection. They've been known to attack boats. So again, we're talking about this whole thing about swordfish. So are they trying to say A, swordfish will attack the entire schools of fish? No, because that's not just what the paragraph talked about. So we cancel out A. B, swordfish will fight for hours when hooked and have even been pulled some fishermen to their deaths. Well, we know that was one of our details, but that's not the main idea. A swordfish bill can cause severe infections and even sink a boat. Again, that danger is, again, a supporting detail. So that is not the main idea. That's not what it just talked about. All these supporting details have to deal with one thing, and it is D. Swordfish are aggressive and dangerous fish. So that is our answer. That is the implied main idea. Next one, topic of the paragraph. So we have here, all writers get bogged down now and then. Accept the fact that sooner or later writer's block will happen to you. When it does, one response is to try to write something no matter how awkward or imprecise it may seem. Just jot a reminder to yourself in the margin, fix this, redo, or ugh. To fine-tune the section later. Another way to deal with a writing snag is to leave a blank space, a spot for the right words when they finally come to mind at a later time. Then move on to an easier section. See if you can write that, and then return to the challenging part. It may also help to reread to yourself or out loud what you've already written. Regaining a sense of large context may be enough to overcome writer's block. You might also try talking your way through a troublesome section. Like most people, you probably speak more easily than you write. By speaking aloud, you tap this oral fluency and put it to work in your writing. So, our topic, what is something that kept coming up? And what that was a writer's block, because it kept coming up, so you'll see it highlighted there and all the references to it. And so, again, what are they trying to say about writer's block? So looking here, are they trying to say writing is not easy? That's okay. Well, we know that, but again, it has to deal with writer's block. How about B? There are various ways to deal with writer's block. Okay, possibly, but let's just double check and make sure. So B is our best answer so far. C, talking about what you're trying to write may help you break out of a writing snag. No, because again, we didn't mention writer's block in that one. Or D, write easier sections of the paper first and come back later to a harder section. That seems like a tip or a suggestion, so that has nothing to deal with writer's block. So the correct answer is B. So again, using inference skills, you have to use the clues around it to figure out that main idea. So again, we have signal words here for the major supporting details. Remember, the major supporting details are the ones that have these signal words first, next, also, finally. And then the minor supporting details are ones that are like statistics, or they follow after those major supporting details. Okay, so here we have nonverbal messages are more emotionally powerful than verbal ones. Nonverbal behaviors tell people about our emotional state. When we want to convey how we feel about someone, language often fails us. Nonverbal messages are also more universal than verbal ones. Members of different linguistic groups must spend a lot of time and effort to learn each other's verbal codes, but they can communicate instantly by smiling or wrinkling their faces in disgust. Some researchers have shown a number of emotions to be expressed in the same way by members of different cultural groups. Last, nonverbal messages are more continuous and natural than spoken language. Because gestures and body movements flow into one another without obvious beginnings and endings, they seem to be a more natural part of our existence than words. So, topic of this paragraph is what kept coming up. And what that was, again, nonverbal messages, and you'll see them highlighted there. So, what are they saying about nonverbal messages? So, if we look at some of the supporting details, okay, we have here nonverbal messages are also more universal than verbal ones. So that's, you got a supporting detail, major supporting detail there with also. Okay. Again, nonverbal behaviors tell people about our emotional state. That's another one. Okay. So last, nonverbal messages are more continuous and natural than spoken language. So again, what they're trying to say about nonverbal messages here, and they all have different ways of communicating, is, again, nonverbal messages have several advantages over verbal ones. Okay, so again, with the longer passages, you will find also what they call central point, main point, or a thesis. Okay, and then that is all just talking about main idea. So hopefully you found this helpful. That's going to bring us to the end of chapter 2. Sorry, I apologize. For chapter 4, implied main ideas refer to chapter 2 as well. They pair together main ideas. So again, the differences in main idea, the sentence in chapter 2, the main idea was explicitly said. It was a sentence in the text. For implied main ideas, we're going to have to use the supporting details we learned in chapter 3 to figure out the implied main idea. So again, just take your time, slow down, and make sure it can apply to the entire paragraph. So now make sure you look out for chapter 5 and chapter 6 relationships.